Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk about all things football. If that's your type of thing, why not join the BTP army and click the subscribe button? And while you're there, give us a like. I'm Kristian, this is Ty, and today we are discussing the England team. So the England team's been announced. Well, the provisional England squad's been announced. In total, he picked 33 from like a Euro squad of 26. So obviously he's got to get rid of 7 players. We're going to whittle that down and pick our players, which we would like to see go. And we're going to see where each other's differs. First thoughts, Ty, on him picking 33 players.
I'm like, wow, talk about covering your back. It's like, so you always used to be like 2 or 3 you'd get in there, but you're 7 there. You're like thinking, I mean, the ones that I haven't even picked for, like Ben White. I mean, he knows he's making up the numbers. Aaron Ramsdale. You're like, what are you there for, really? I mean, yeah, I think he's gone a bit overkill, but having heard his press conference today, I know it is because obviously there's 3 English teams in the Europa League and Champions League final coming up. So there's obviously a chance of injuries. He wants to have enough numbers for the first training session as well. Whilst the teams are obviously, the Man United, Chelsea, Man City are away. So it kind of makes sense. But I think you still don't need 33.
Yeah, because originally didn't they increase the numbers from 22 to a squad of 26. Spain
have 23, 26, yeah.
And Spain have only announced 24 of 26 players, obviously excluding all Real Madrid players. So it's quite ridiculous, but it is understandable, like you said, in Russia. The team, he was pretty much able to pick the squad for Russia, but because there's so many injuries, like you say, he's covering his back, and it's understandable. I think a lot of the England squad is actually going to pick itself before we get there. I don't think everyone will make it. I think there'll be a few injuries, especially if Harry Maguire might be playing, as they're talking about the Europa League final tomorrow night. There's a chance that he could be playing. I think that'd be a bad move.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think there'll be too many changes from a normal Southgate squad. He's obviously spoke about it for a while that he trusts his players. He likes the way they play. There's a set strategy and philosophy the way the England team play. He trusts the players, like I've already said. So yeah, there's not going to be many changes. I think obviously the biggest one I think everyone's waiting for is Trent, whether he goes or not. And he said something today in the press conference which kind of pissed me off a bit. It was a bit of a shitty answer. It was a bit of a bell end answer, to be honest. He got asked, you got 4 right backs, and he replied, "No, I've got 4 good footballers." I'm like, oh, fuck off, man. You know exactly what they are. There's no need to be a bell end about it. Do you know what I mean? 4 footballers. I'm like, the question, you know exactly what the question is, and it's like, Trent's your best. You can call him a footballer, you can call him a fullback. Trent's your best one there, And I've seen a lot about Trent over this last season, and a lot of it has been pretty poor analysis, and that's putting it nicely. The stuff, I mean, the game against Fulham when he was sub, and after that game, he's been the best right back in the world since then. I'll put it out there, best right back in the world, best English right back, no doubt. But you talk about it, I think everyone's in agreement. It's the best attacking full back England have got, no question about that. Brilliant. Defensively, he's been brilliant since that Fulham, and that was probably the kick up the backside he needed. Just to sort of say, right, okay, Trent, what do you really want to do? Have you got a real desire and intensity to defend towards 1v1s? His issues are, he doesn't get out there quick enough to stop the crosses. He gets beat 1v1 too easy. His recovery runs are shit. He just wants to attack. All the sort of typical stuff you'd heard from people that don't really know a lot about football. But if you've watched him since then, all of those have been absolutely brilliant at. And the biggest one is his recovery runs, the intensity in which he's ran to get back to help out. I mean, to be fair, the fact he's got Phillips and Reece Williams at the back, and he knows he's the senior guy on that side. I mean, obviously Robbo's on the other side. So basically, Robbo and Trent have had that extra responsibility of getting back, and Trent just rose up to it. Klopp was absolutely right when he said, if you don't think Trent's up to form, I've got to massively disagree with you. And he said that to us when he dropped him for the last game, and we obviously spoke about that. Like how much of a mental scar it might have on Trent. But I don't think it has. I think it's gone the other way. I think he's been brilliant. He's taken it on board and he's really fought back and he's been top notch.
Yeah, if that's the impact that he had after being left out the most recent squad, imagine being left out the Euros. As a Liverpool fan, it's only exciting. You know what I mean? But yeah, we'll move on to we'll come back to Trent a little bit later. But we'll just introduce the squad. Obviously, probably everybody knows it by now, but we'll just go through it. I'm going to take you through the goalkeepers. So we've got Dean Henson, Sam Johnson, Jordan Pickford, and Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, so the defenders, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ben Chilwell, Connor Cody, Ben Godfrey, Reece James, Harry Maguire, Tyrone Mings, Bukayo Saka. I wouldn't have him as a defender, but that's another point. Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker, and the surprise Ben White.
Who hasn't even got a picture.
Yeah, that's how much of a surprise.
So moving on to the midfield, it's weird that you were saying that, certain players they're considering as a midfielder and defenders. This is an actual EnglandFootball.com. It's their website. The midfielders, it's Jude Bellingham. We've got Jack Grealish, Jordan Henderson, Jesse Lingard, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice, and James Ward-Prowse.
And the forwards, we've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Phil Foden, Mason Greenwood, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Raheem Sterling, and Ollie Watkins. And obviously, Mr. Southgate as the manager.
So, first thoughts on that. Obviously, there's a couple of surprises in there. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, I did have Sky Sports News on waiting for the 1 o'clock announcement, but I completely missed it, and I think I caught it just before I had a meeting about 1:30. So, naturally, the surprise is Ben White, Aaron Ramsdale. Ollie Watkins was one of those, whether he was going to go. Mason Greenwood's another one, but they're not massively. Well, once that you get the headline, there's 33 in the squad, you kind of know that there's going to be those that you mentioned, obviously, players in their own positions. I mean, Saka's not a defender. You can play as a fullback, absolutely. He's not a defender. If you watch any of the Arsenal games, his best positions in an attacking position, whether it's any of those sort of three positions behind the front man. Phil Foden, again, is not a striker. Neither Sancho, but I suppose we're just getting to the nitty-gritty, But it's just the Saka one. I mean, he's one that if you look at previous squads, there's a chance he's going to miss out. But I really, really hope he goes, because I think he's a phenomenal talent, like a special player. He's one of those players that, we talk about young players not having any fear. That's him. He's got no fear. He's played against some top teams, and he takes responsibility. He gets the ball, decide. Really, really. Him and Mason, it's very similar to Mason Mount, not in the style they play, but in terms of the courage they possess of wanting the ball and wanting to affect the game.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, we've got up the England provisional squad just in front of us. There might be a couple of spelling mistakes on there because I've just whipped this up on Canva. But we're obviously going to go through the defenders, midfielders, forwards and keepers and just go through who we would take and who we would discount. Now, for me, the very first thing that comes to mind, which I heard this morning, is that the goalkeepers can actually be replaced all the way throughout the tournament. So if someone gets injured in the semi-final, you can bring someone in. So for me, there's no real need to have 4 goalkeepers. You could argue, there's a good argument for 3. I think one of them will most definitely drop out. I would try and take 2 just so you could sneak in an extra players. Thoughts on 2 keepers over 3?
I didn't know that, but I think if that is the case, it's an absolute no-brainer. You only take 2. There is zero need for you to take 3. I mean, what we're going to take 3 because you might have 2 goalkeeping injuries in one match. That's just bonkers. You take 2. If one of them gets injured, you should replace them with another one. Your 2 that you're going to take are going to be Pickford and Henderson. It's a really good rule because it allows for more outfield players, because the amount of times you'd have a third goalkeeper and he'd never play a game, or he might play a game with a second choice in a dead rubber where they both play a half each. Do you know what I mean? In a tournament. But if that is the case, I'd absolutely be losing 2 of them, and that makes it easy because you only got to lose 5 from the outfield players.
So we're gonna go with Jordan Pickford and Dean Henson, yeah?
Yeah, they're our two keepers.
Yeah, so we're just gonna get rid of Sam Johnson and Aaron Ramsdale. Moving on to the defenders, obviously John Stones, Harry Maguire. We're going to presume that all of these guys are fit. That's the premise of this. So John Stones, Harry Maguire, they're going to be our number 1 and 2. Who's going to be your left back? Your main left back?
Oh, it's a tight one, isn't it? I think Shaw's dropped off a bit, Since,
He has.
And I think Ben Chilwell's playing better than he's obviously scored a few goals and he's playing in a slightly more advanced position. But yeah, I don't think there's a lot between them two. So it is a flip. I mean, obviously they're both going to go Chilwell and Shaw, but who are you going to pick? I don't know. I think flip a coin there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm moving. Like I'm in agreement with you. Obviously, I think both are going to go Ben Chilwell and Shaw. Just moving on to obviously the right backs now. So I think we've got 4 right backs here. We've obviously got Kyle Walker, Trent. We've got Reece James and
Trippier.
Yeah, I can't see a way that Trippier doesn't go. I can't see a way that Kyle Walker doesn't go. I think Kyle Walker can perhaps named amongst the centre backs more than anything else. So you've basically got 3 there, and I don't think he's going to take all 3 right backs. So for you, do you leave any out or?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it. Kieran Trippier's not. Yeah, you're comparing. I mean, he's a decent right back, but you're comparing him against them 3 is quite way down the pecking order. I think he's one of those that Southgate's had for a while, and he sort of trusts him. And he's scoring important goals for him, and he obviously scored in the semi-final as well. But no, for me, I think Trippier drops out. But I agree with you. I think Walker can play centre half. Reece James is a really interesting one because even though we say he's been good and he's done all right, I just think he's not been a regular for Chelsea, even though he has for the last few games. It's sort of like Azpilicueta played right wing back, or Hudson-Odoi played right wing back, or Reece James. So it was never like a certain starter. So are you going to pick players that are starters, or I don't know. It's not like it's a position where you're massively short. You've obviously got 4 pretty good right backs there. But yeah, for me, I'd be leaving Trippier behind because I think Reece James is a better player than him. I know he's just won the Europa League, the La Liga, but I think we've all seen La Liga isn't the same league it was in previous years, so the quality is not as good. But no, for me, Kieran Trippier is the weakest out of the 3.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I found an interesting tweet on Twitter, and it fits my agenda, so I'm going to say. This is a guy called Joel Rabinowitz. He is from Liverpool. I think it's Liverpool.com, and it's defensive statistics. This guy's got a blue tick next to his name, so we're going to take his statistic as gospel. We've got the tackle success of Trent, Walker, and Trippier and James. We've got Trent at 57%, Walker at 54%, Trippier at 43%, and James at 38%. The dribble pass per 90 stat. We've got Trent 0.71, Walker 0.74, James 1.14, Trippier 1.16. And then you've got ball recoveries per 90. Trent again top, Trippier second, Walker third, and James fourth. It's just basically kind of reiterating what you were saying earlier. It's kind of like it's kind of ignorant to say that Trent is not good defensively. Yeah. To what you were saying earlier.
No, it's funny. I've not seen that. You know my views and stats. I think you can always use them to push your own agenda. But seeing that does back up my, what I saw and what I have seen since the Fulham game. So yeah, it's no real surprise. But again, those players those people that have got their own agenda that they don't want Trent there because of Liverpool. There's no other reason for not wanting Trent there apart from the fact he's a Liverpool player. And there's obviously hatred towards Liverpool. That's just the way it is. But no, I think Trent. That's just backs up what we were saying anyway. So,
yeah, I personally don't understand it. I can't for the life of me understand why Gareth Southgate wouldn't go with it. But sometimes they do have the favourite. So we're taking out Kieran Trippier on this one. We'll come back to Bukayo Saka, but Ben White, we'll just discount him immediately. I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he's a good. I think he's a good player. But I mean, him and Godfrey, I'd have the same, because I think they both. I mean, having said that, I think he might take one of them because of Harry Maguire's injury, just in case, because you don't want to be short of centre halves. I mean, you'd rather have one of them two playing centre half than say Declan Rice, who can drop in and it's just. We've obviously seen the damage having injuries to your centre halves can have to your season. So, be well covered in that position.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you not think with it's likely that he's going to play a 5 at the back with Kyle Walker, John Stones, Harry Maguire. Then we've obviously got the cover with Tyrone Mings, Connor Cody. I suppose that is it. Connor Cody, he hasn't had such a strong season. It's been pretty average. He had I'd say, a quite terrible middle of the season. But thoughts on him and Mings?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're obviously choosing this from the squad that Southgate's picked. Now, if I was picking the centre halves, they wouldn't be them. I don't think Mings or Cody. I mean, I know they're going to be going, but neither of them should be going. You're talking. I mean, I think Conser has been. Concert at Villa's been brilliant. He's been one of the best centre halves in the league. He should be in there, but he's obviously not going. I'd actually have Godfrey and White ahead of Cody and Mings, but it's just not going to happen because we go back to those players that he trusts and he seems to have a special relationship with that he's going to take with him. So I mean, for me, I mean, do we really want Mings and Cody at centre half in the quarterfinals of the European Championships? No, because it's not really going to win you the title, won't win you the tournament. So I just think it's. It's a no from me. I mean, Mings and Cody, not for me. I mean, again, Stones and Maguire, it's what you've got. It's fine. But I think the drop off from them to Mings and Cody is quite big. Whereas I think Godfrey's done well because he can play either full back position as well. And you've got Ben White, who's played in midfield as well, and he's a good player.
Yeah. Like what a lot of people got to ask themselves is which of these players are actually going to get on the pitch. You can't just take people along for the ride. This isn't like Theo Walcott back in the day. The 5 players that we've got so far are obviously Ben Godfrey, Kieran Trippier. I suppose there's an argument for that. Ben White, Sam Johnson, and Aaron Ramsdale. So far, none of them are going to get on even in the friendlies, other than Kieran Trippier. This is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult as we move on to the midfielders and the forwards. So midfielders, we've got Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, Jude Bellingham, Calvin Phillips, James Ward-Prowse as your predominant centre midfielders. Is there any amongst there that you would call?
No, I like them all. I'm Jesse Lingard's for me. I mean, I know he's had a decent second half. I don't know. I mean, he's one of those that Southgate likes for me, but where does he play for England? He doesn't get into the England team, and if you're looking off the bench, he's not going to be the one that you look to. You'll have one of those forwards, even though they're not forwards, you know what I mean? You'll have one of them to come on. So for me, if I was cutting one from there, it'd be Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, it's like I say, all the different media outlets. So you've got like the BBC, Sky Sports. They all have these defenders, midfielders, forwards in different orders. Jesse Lingard, I don't know how he's in the midfielders if the likes of Grealish and Foden are there also. But I'm with you on that. I think Lingard's obviously gone through a purple patch, but he might be there actually for squad morale. Obviously, it's quite important when they're away. He probably play a bigger part with regards to squad morale more than anything.
I'm not having Lingard there for parties.
No, that's not. I mean, Jay Lings, he'll be there.
Jay Lings is you're not there. You're not there with that. Yeah, no, I'm not having that. I mean, it's like the stuff, the squad morale will be fine without Jesse Lingard. The whole thing's not going to fall apart because Lingard didn't make the squad.
So are we taking Jay Lings, or are we going to reserve?
Leave him as an orange or something. Yeah, we'll see. We'll come back to Lings, but at the moment, I think he's a redder for me.
All right, he's an orange. All right, we're going to go with that's close. That's close enough. So we move on to the forwards. Obviously, Harry Kane, Marcus Rashford. I'm looking for the predominant number 9s. Dominic Calvert-Lewin,
and Watkins.
Ollie Watkins. Yeah. Obviously, the others are the wingers, but just go with the forwards first. Obviously, Harry Kane's a no-brainer. Then beyond there, Max Rashford's got some good stats this year, but he's not hit at the height, would you say?
I agree. Yeah, I think he's done more good stuff off the pitch than he has done on it. I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, Calvert-Lewin again. He's not a goal scorer. He's not. He's not what I'd call a natural finisher. He's playing for the right team. He's probably like a mid-table Premier League player in it. Do you know what I mean? He's horrible. He's awkward to play against. He's good in the air. He holds the ball up well. But if you're going through one-on-one on the keeper, do you trust him? No. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's ultimately what you're going to need at that level. I actually think Ollie Watkins offers more than Calvert-Lewin. And then if we look at... Sorry, go on.
Just, do you see Ollie Watkins playing any part of the tournament? It was just going back to what I said earlier. There's no point in taking players who you cannot see getting on the pitch. Do you see Ollie Watkins?
No, I mean, I think that's a really good point, that, because let's just go with a front three. I mean, it might not be, but we go with a front three of, say, Kane, Foden and Grealish. Okay. Now, if we're going to make substitutions and we've got all those forwards, what's the likelihood of Ollie Watkins coming on? It's very slim, isn't it? So I think Ollie Watkins goes. You could potentially make an argument for pretty much all the rest of them. I think Ollie Watkins and Greenwood could go because Watkins hasn't been in that many squads, and I don't think Greenwood's been in a squad, has he? I might be mistaken. If he has, he might have been.
I think he was in the Iceland one where he got sent home.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not had that. He's not got the consistency of getting picked by Southgate. So I think Greenwood's probably going to go, and Watkins. I said they're the two that are going to go. Even though I do think Greenwood's a good player. I don't think he's as good as everyone's saying he is. If you look at his numbers, we're talking about the most natural finisher that Man United have ever seen since whenever. You look at his numbers, they're not fantastic. I know he's been playing off the right, but he's had quite a few. It's not like he hasn't had chances. He's still playing in an attacking position. And obviously Man United have stuck with Cavani for another year as well, so they still don't trust him playing as the 9. I think Watkins go for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Watkins is definitely one for me that's just not going to got the opportunity. So again, there's no reason for him to be around. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he started the season on fire, but he could have potentially missed out. There are better options. I just want to know your opinion on Bamford missing out.
It's a tough one. I think if I were Bamford, I'd be pissed off that I'm not in this 33. He definitely deserved to be in the 33. 26, I think it'd be tight. Again, it comes down. I think you made a really good point. It's like, how do you? What's the likelihood of you coming on or playing any game minutes? You know what I mean? Ultimately, as a striker, if you're on the bench, you are only going to come on if a striker's injured or if your team's behind and they need to freshen it up. And he's not going to come on. Like, let's just, for argument's sake, say Bamford's in there instead of, say, Sancho. Kane gets injured. It's not going to be first choice. It'll be Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin gets injured. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think Bamford offers a lot. He's got good numbers in terms of goals. He offers more in terms of his work rate. You can't not play for a Bielsa team and not work your bollocks off. So, I'd be disappointed if I was Bamford and I'm not in the 33. And when you get to the Euro squad, it always boils down to what your relationship's like with a manager, not in terms of like if you're mates and stuff, but in terms of sort of getting picked regularly over the last 2 years, and he hasn't. He might have been picked the odd time. Like Ings as well, he got picked the odd time, so him getting, do you know what I mean? So you've got to have been in and around the squad previously, which he hasn't really been. So
is Ings available for this? Is Ings available for this?
Yeah, he got dropped as well. So yeah, Ings was available.
Yeah. Okay, so we've currently got 6.
I think
Jill Ings.
Yeah, I think if you put Greenwood, I think that's probably going to be it. So obviously, if you put Greenwood, then that's 8. And knowing Southgate, he plays everything safe, doesn't he? So he'll take 3 goalkeepers. which will mean, all them would, they're the ones. If they go, then he's left with 26. So
Yeah.
even if you untick Sam Johnson, that'll be the 7 that go.
Yeah. So if it was you personally, who would you untick and tick? So just for everybody at home keeping track, we've got Ben Godfrey, Kieran Trippier, Ben White, Jesse Lingard, Sam Johnson, Aaron Ramsdale, Mason Greenwood, Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, so that's 8.
Who you taking?
So they're the 8 from them. We've got a one-tick one. I mean, me personally, I'd untick Greenwood. I'd take Greenwood with me, but I think what Southgate will do, he'll take Sam Johnson as a third keeper, which I think would be bonkers after UEFA have said if you get an injury to a keeper, you can replace him.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Is one of the keepers are going to be in Malaga getting smashed, and it's just like, right, okay, mate, just come down. It's not like you need to be fitter out for a keeper. You just rock up. They're absolute athletes as anyway. So I think that would make a common sense approach. But for you to take 3 keepers after that rule, I'm not. You can't persuade me otherwise to say it makes sense.
And so obviously now we've got our exclusions from the squad. Who do you think finally that Southgate will drop? Do you think it's all of those, or do you think, like, obviously Kieran Trippier? I think that's I personally don't see Southgate dropping him.
It's an interesting one. I mean, the other, just to throw in a couple others that could potentially go. I do think Saka could go. And I also think James Ward-Prowse could go as well. The way, because we know he's a very sort of safe manager, innit? I think Saka, I'd be disappointed if Saka went, because I think he's a phenomenal talent. I mean, I don't think he's to be far off there. There's obviously the danger that he sticks with his weird thought process of dropping Trent and not taking him. I mean, if he drops Trent, that's me supporting every team that England play against. I'm all over Italy anyway, so it don't make a difference. You know what I mean? I like England to do well, but
it's been my fear all along that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at any country in the world, they'll be looking, they're thinking, in what planet do you think not taking Trent is a good idea?
Yeah, obviously that's going to be the big decision. It's been my fear all along that he's just going to drop this bomb. That Trent's not going to go, but like, having seen, thinking with that logic again, who's not going to play? For me, there are many other options where you can justify maybe taking out a midfielder and taking that extra attacking right back. Let's say you're in a quarterfinals game, you started with, I don't know, Kyle Walker or Trippier, and you're 2-0 down. Maybe you want to bring an attacking right back on, someone who can pick a pass, rather than just going backwards and sideways and just submitting to a 2-0 defeat. Trent's going to give you that option, to pick a team apart. So I think he's got to accommodate him, even if he takes all 4 right backs. I think he has to take Trent.
I mean, I would go as far as saying he's in the top 3 best players in that squad, Trent.
Yeah.
For him, and then for you not to get him into a squad of 26, the mind just fucking boggles. But I think
I think you're right. For me, you've got untouchables. You've got Harry Kane, Phil Foden, maybe Mason Mount the way he's been playing this year, Jordan Henderson because he's vice captain, Pickford because he's always been there. God knows why he would be an untouchable. Harry Maguire, John Stones, Trent, and beyond that, it's up for grabs. But he likes to go with his more reliable players.
Yeah.
So moving on, Ty, obviously your question of the day.
So our question of the day today is: there's obviously been a few players that have missed out, such as Bamford, Ings. Question for you guys is: who do you think is the most unluckiest player to have missed out and should have been in at least the 33? So questions, answers below, as always. Let us know. If you disagree with anything we've said, let us know. Do that fancy thing. Subscribe, all that fancy jazz that Chris always bollocks me about and I forget to do. So,
Yeah, as always, if you've been listening this long, just drop us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's our provisional squad. I think maybe next week. Is it next week when we're going to be hearing from the final squad, or is it just going to be a couple of?
I think it's 1st of June, isn't it? So yeah, so it will be. It's around a week, innit? It's just another week. So yeah,
yeah, good stuff. Looking forward to that. So as always, like, subscribe, all the good stuff down below. I'm Kristian. This is Ty. See you later, guys.
Hey guys, bye.